So with that, everyone, want to make an announcement. There will be an executive session. It's been posted, and that is not open to the public. That meeting will follow our agenda, immediately follow our agenda review. Also want to remind everyone we're live captioning our meeting, and so please look in the chat window of our WebEx meeting site where you will find a link. Please click on that link to open a web page with the live captioning. So with that, at this time, I call to order the agenda review meeting of the Maricopa County Community College District Governing Board of June 21, 2022. Today, we will review the agenda for the June 28, 2022 meeting. For the record, I would like to call a roll of board members. I will start with Mr. Evans, our student trustee. Are you present? I'm going to, Ms. Spitter-Smith, can you respond? Are you present? Okay, we'll come back. Mrs. McGrath.
Present.
Thank you. Dr. Narini.
Present.
Thank you. Ms. Smith.
Present.
Thank you. Dr. Thor.
Present.
Thank you. Ms. Wynn is unable to join us this evening, and with my presence, we have 5 board members currently in attendance, 1 excused absence, and 1 is somewhere in the technology ether. So as soon as she's on, Elsa, please note that for the record. Ms.
Okay.
Smith, thank you very much. So folks, I just want to announce that next week prior to our meeting, we will, I believe, have a work session regarding tuition. And given our work sessions, even though it is close to the year, Ms. Granillo, your team will be responsible for one of those delightful songs that we have always at work sessions. Then, and I'm sure it'll be a wonderful rendition of whatever song you choose. With that, then we will move to the regular meeting after the work session. And after going through the usual elements, call to order, we will then move into the public hearing for consideration of adoption of charter high school budgets. We will attend to that business. Then we will move to our regular meeting and have presentations from, I believe at this meeting still, Faculty Executive Council report, the adjunct faculty report, and employee representation report, student life report. We will acknowledge our emeritus awards. We will hear from Dr. Gonzalez with his updates, possibly have citizens interim, and then move to consideration of our consent agenda. With that, I'm going to read each item on the consent agenda and ask for comments and questions. The first 3 items, 2 through 4, are for approval of faculty emeritus distinctions for Timothy Florschut, Dr. Antonio Cardenas, and and David Schmidt. Then we will move to the formal adoption of Gateway Early College High School proposed budget fiscal year 22-23 in the amount of $4,186,806. Then move to the adoption of Phoenix College Prep Academy proposed budget fiscal year 22-23 in the amount of $3,090,927. Board members, do you have any comments or questions on this, given though we've already had a special meeting on this matter and we'll go through a public hearing for adoption? Any comments or questions?
I had a quick question or a comment on the faculty emeritus.
Oh, okay, let's go back. Yes, Dr. Narini.
I think we just need to go and clean up Professor Schmidt's little bio there. It looks like there's a couple of typos in there because I'm not sure what a huge lit and a profound impact is. And then he's a Department Cha, and then it's repeated. I think they repeat it again and a little bit lower down. They just repeat the whole thing over again.
Thank you for catching that. Good eye. Yes, certainly want to have that accurate and well presented. Thank you for that. So Dr. Gonzalez, just for the record, you'll make note of that.
Yes, noted. Thank you, President Sullivan, Dr. Narini.
Thank you. Board members, I didn't mean to skate through those first 6 items, but do you have any comments and questions on those before we move on?
President Sullivan, this is Susan. I just wanted you to know I was on and connected.
Okay, thank you very much. Glad to know you're with us this evening. Thank you. Moving then on to item 7 on our current consent agenda, approval of acceptance of transfer from Maricopa Community College Foundation in the amount of $200,000 for a new grant award from the Nina Mason Pulliam Charitable Trust to District Student Services for the Bridging Success 2.0 program for 22-24. Are there any comments or questions from board members on that item? Being none, then we'll move to item 8, approval of acceptance of year 5 renewal of funding from Arizona First Things First in the amount of $300,000 to Paradise Valley Community College for the Early Care and Education Professional Development Program. Any comments or questions from the board? Being none, move to item 9, approval of acceptance of Arizona Office of Economic Opportunity funding to support Maricopa Community College's Semiconductor Manufacturing Technician Training Program in the amount of $1,300,000. Any comments or questions? Item 10, approval of acceptance of new grant award, Carl D. Perkins 5 Basic Grant for fiscal year 22-23. That is the Federal Career and Technical Education funding in the amount of $1,918,776.68 from the Department of Education for district-wide occupational programs. Any comments or questions?
I had a question.
Yes, Dr. Narini.
Is this new money, or is this just money that's being given to us again?
Dr. Gonzalez?
Yes, President Sullivan, Dr. Narini, I believe that this is money that is given to us again, but I will defer to either Darcy Renfro or Daniel Barajas. Hopefully they're on the call and can verify that.
President Sullivan, this is members of the board, Chancellor and CEC and guests. This is Ms. Renfro. It is new money. It is an annual allotment that goes to the State Department of Education, who then gives a certain percentage of that Perkins money to the community college to post-secondary. And so we get roughly the same amount every year. I believe this grant award is about $40,000 higher than it was last year, but that's formulaic. It's based on a formula, and it's sent via the Arizona Department of Education from the federal government on an annual basis.
Thank you. So that just leads me to another question. How is this going to impact our student fees? The reason I ask is I was looking through the supplies and equipment list, and then I went back through the last couple of years, and like, for example, the exercise lab equipment. We just approved an increase in fees for exercise science 215 at Glendale, 217 at Glendale, and 255 and 257 at Glendale basically for supplies. So I don't know, do we get to reduce that for students? And then the same thing with Gateway, some of the healthcare programs that we approved funding a fee increase for surgical instruments class, for surgical supplies class, some other basic surgical instrument classes. For about 6 or 8 classes, we approved a fee increase for them. And the same thing with with Mesa's vet tech program. We had increased some fees last year for them. For their EMT program, we increased fees. Same thing with Phoenix College. Again, for digital arts, we increased the fees. Digital arts supplies and for hardware, we increased fees. And then even for
Dr. Narini, I don't mean to interrupt you, but your question was, does this money impact fees? We're not here to discuss the budget per se, but we can answer your questions. And if you'd like us to take up the discussion of fees in a different way, we can consider putting that on the agenda. But can we go back to your question and see what kind of answers we get from Dr. Gonzalez and his team.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Noreen. Dr. Gonzalez, Dr.
Uh,
Ms. Granillo, someone?
Sorry, Darcy, is that a question that you're able to respond to?
Chancellor, President Sullivan, Dr. Narini, I cannot speak to the fee issue in any detail, but what I can say is that the equipment that we have that is paid for by Perkins is oftentimes different than the fee for classroom equipment. In other words, the tangibles that individual students need for those courses. Perkins dollars generally buy big pieces of equipment that are needed to actually make those for the faculty, for the colleges, etc. I don't know if colleges go through an exercise where they review what is going to get paid for Perkins and what is going to go to a student fee. I don't know the answer to that, but I will tell you that the kinds of equipment that's funded through this Perkins grant, one has to get split across all 10 colleges, and generally are bigger pieces of equipment like HVAC equipment, things like that, which would not be something that we would assess student fees to support, is my understanding.
Okay, because again, as I look through the fee proposals that we passed, a lot of them, were just some of these basic fees and supplies that they asked for, and then even over with the mortuary science program, they were very specific when we increased their fees, and it was exactly for that skydiver cadaver that they're asking, that we're giving them $85,000, or this grant is giving them $85,000 for. So I'm not sure where we go from here, but I think that, I want to make sure that we're not double charging, or students aren't paying for things that are already being paid for.
Dr. Nooney, if I may add, and I'm speaking from my experience as a college president, when decisions are being made around budget, we're taking into account and consideration how much we're receiving from grants such as this and other grants that help inform ultimately, what is left and what is able to be determined as a student fee. So that should be factored in across the system.
Okay, yeah, because I guess the information I'm getting isn't enough to kind of discern that, and just from my quick look, I just looked at the two fee increases that we passed, and I found several of them that seem to be an overlap. And yeah, I guess getting back to that fee committee that we had earlier on, it would be helpful to see that the students aren't being charged for monies that aren't going to what they need.
I'm getting a text from Mrs. Sullivan wondering if she can be heard. I'm hoping we haven't lost her here.
I can't hear her.
No, I'm sorry. Neither can I.
Dr. Narini, she's asking me to ask you if you could take over until she gets this figured out.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's hope she gets it figured out quickly. Yeah. So I guess for me, it would be helpful to get a better understanding how this is spent and how the money that the students' fees are getting spent, and make sure that they're not overlapping, and that. So I'm not sure how we can do that, or how we can make sure that the students' fees are being used appropriately and not being double feed. So with that, we can move on to the next one.
Thank you.
So where are we? Number 11, the approval of Arizona Department of Ed Adult Education Services College Bridge Pathways Continuing Grant, 3 years at Rio Salado, in the amount of $5,193,701. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, moving on. Approval of State of Arizona Governor's Office grant to Gateway Community College in the amount of $112,500 for Arizona On Track Summer Camp at Gateway Early College High School at Gateway Community College. Any questions or comments? Number 13, the approval of the increased expenditures of budget funds, annual expenses not to exceed $1,200,000 for the renewal of information security tools to include enhanced identity protection for students, faculty, and staff in accordance to the updated Gramm-Leach Act, GLBA safeguard rules. Any questions or comments? Number 14, approval of job order contract, JOC, purchase order to Copper State Fire Protection in the amount of $558,050.92 to replace existing fire alarm systems at Rio Salado main tower. Questions or comments? Approval of job order contracting, JOC, purchase order GCON Inc. in the amount of $1,205,728.40 for roofing and mechanical equipment replacement upgrades at Mesa Community College Downtown Center. Questions or comments? Okay, approval of construction purchase for purchase order to Starkweather Roofing Inc. in the amount of $337,461 for the Language Communication LC building roof restoration project at Scottsdale Community College. Questions or comments?
Dr. Narini, this
Hey,
is
you're back.
great. Thank
Yay.
you very much. I was in the process of yelling, hello, hello, hello. Thank you, Jordan. You sounds like you're doing fine. So you're on item 16?
I think so, or 17. I lost 16 there.
Wow. Well, first of all, let me apologize to everyone. I do not know what happened. I was on and then I was probably saying something really profound. And then I was disconnected. That was a joke. Anyway, I apologize that you're certainly welcome to continue.
Nope. You go right ahead.
Okay, so is there any comment or question on item 16? Being none, then let's move to item 17. And thank you again, Dr. Narini. Approval of project initiation for the renovation and remodel of the gymnasium, locker, and training facilities at Phoenix College. Total budget and scope for this project is $4,500,000. Is there any comment or question on that? Being none, we'll move to item 18, approval of support for Ross Distribution LLC's application to become a usage-driven site within Foreign Trade Zone number 277. Are there any comments or questions? Being none, we'll move to item 19, approval of temporary extension of communication and public relations per RFP 342-9 for communications. Okay, now why am I getting feedback on this? And public relations services. Are there any comments or questions?
President Sullivan,
Yes.
I want just to confirm what I believe I understand. This is simply, again, maintaining authorization for these firms are essentially pre-approved. If we needed services, we could reach to any one of these moving forward, but it does not preclude us from issuing a new RFP if somehow we had a need to do it, correct?
I believe that's the case, Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, President Sullivan. I'm getting an echo too now. Somebody probably needs to mute out there. All right. I apologize for that. President Sullivan, Mrs. Bittersmith, yes, that's the case. We have a current RFP that has a list of vendors that is set to expire, and we will be exploring further the needs of a future RFP around communications and public relations. And given the fact that this is set to expire at the end of June, I believe, we're simply asking for a temporary extension to continue to operate with the current vendors until we reissue an RFP.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Moving then to item 20 is approval of temporary extension of design agencies RFP 3342-4 for creative digital marketing, advertising, and related services. I would presume it's the same situation. Is that correct, Dr. Gonzalez?
That would be correct.
Board members, are there any comments or questions on item 20? Seeing none, item 21, approval of temporary construction easement to the city of Avondale for construction improvements at Rio Salado College, Avondale campus. Are there any comments or questions? Item 22, approval of memorandum of understanding between Gateway Community College and CNM Ingenuity, Inc., otherwise known as CNMI, for sharing non-credit content on Unmuddle, a skills to jobs marketplace. Any comments or questions? Item 23, approval of the Healthcare United at Gateway Clinic semi-annual quality management report for spring 2022. Are there any comments or questions on that item? Item 24, approval of spending authority for fiscal year 23 and fiscal year 24, not to exceed $1,500,000 annually for digital marketing and related services for Rio National between Lavage Marketing and Maricopa County Community College District on behalf of Rio Salado College per RFP 3447-6. Are there any comments and questions on that item? Item 25, approval of designation of individual to certify expenditure limit report. The designee is Kimberly Granillo, Interim Chief Financial Officer for fiscal year 2023. Are there any comments or questions? Item 26, approval of new dental carrier contract to Solstice Health Plans of Arizona, Inc., a United Health Group Incorporated company for dental plans offered to employees. Are there any comments or questions? Item 27, approval of curriculum item. There are 9 course deletions, 14 modifications, and 5 new. In occupational programs, 124 modifications, 1 new, and 10 deletions. And in academic programs, 55 modifications, 1 new, and 1 deletion. Are there any comments or questions on that item? Item 28, approval of IGA between Glendale Community College and Peoria Unified School District for embedded high school advisors. Are there any comments and questions? And item 29, approval of agreements for use of office space at colleges by Arizona's universities. Are there any comments or questions? I believe that I was disconnected somewhere on item 10, Dr. Nurini, when you were asking questions about fees. Is there an interest for us to revisit that in a meeting, or if you can have your questions answered in online with the responses to all board members, would that be satisfactory?
Yeah, I was just kind of coming up with a whole list of the questions that I had because it just, it just doesn't add up to me.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get a written response.
Okay, so Dr. Gonzalez and whomever else would be involved in that, rather than tied to the Carl Perkins money, we can look at this other question around fees in a different way. But I don't want to lose sight that was part of the discussion.
Thank you, President Sullivan. We'll be happy to answer those questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we will have a non-consent action item on the board agenda for next week, and that is for a board policy change 2.0 regarding chancellor limitations and interpretations. We as board have reviewed that in our board retreats, et cetera, and had opportunity at the last meeting to get a read on this. Just want to remind everyone that this will be on for an action. Are there any questions or comments at this time on that subject? Okay, then we'll move then on the agenda to a proposed new policy for staff policy manual regarding professional growth. Are there any comments or questions on that item?
President Sullivan.
Yes. Go ahead.
My question comes from the PowerPoint presentation that was included as part of this agenda review. And apparently that PowerPoint presentation will be part of the Chancellor's report next week. At any rate, on slide 6, under highlighted changes, the second bullet says, the paid educational leave program is designed to provide employees the leave time to further their careers and employment opportunities through the completion of an advanced degree, certifications, or coursework. Does the use of the term advanced degrees mean that we will not provide paid educational leave for associate and bachelor's degrees, as they are not advanced degrees? Or is there another meaning of this term?
Dr. Gonzalez and Dr. Kelly?
Yes, President Sullivan, Dr. Thor, I suspect that that likely means something different, but I will ask Dr. Kelly to confirm.
Good afternoon. Thank you for that question, Dr. Thor. President Sullivan, Chancellor, it does mean something different. And yes, we will provide those opportunities for associates and bachelors.
Perhaps we may want to consider clarifying that language, Dr. Kelly. So
I think so.
Yes, we will do so. We
Right.
made some adjustments to the presentation for the 28th. So yes, we will review that information, Dr. Thor.
Thank you. I have no other question.
Thank you, Dr. Thor. There's also the Employment and Separations Report of April 23rd, 2022 through May 2022. Any comments or questions on that report? I do want to remind everyone that there will be a second read item that isn't on our agenda in this agenda review, and that would be next week for the faculty agreement. So if there are going to be any comments or questions on that, we've received that before, so may want to review that. And I do want to remind everyone that if an item is not on the agenda review, it doesn't preclude it from being on the agenda for the regular meeting. Just means for whatever reason, either the information was not received in time to be noted on here, or it's an item that comes up quickly and needs to move to the regular board agenda. So with the appropriate time and posting. So that there may be other items on the agenda for next week, but I did want to note that that will be on the agenda for next time, which does not appear on our agenda review. So overall, going through all of those items, are there any comments and questions from anyone on the items we've covered? Recognizing that there will also be a budget analysis report on general unrestricted funds for the 11 months ending 5/31/22 next time as well.
President Sullivan,
Yes, Mrs. McGrath.
I don't like the idea of having things put on the regular agenda for the regular board meeting that have not been reviewed in agenda review. And I do not see any emergency in any of these items, and I would prefer to have them held off until the next month or the next meeting, which would be in August.
And I think
Surprises, and I think why in the world are we having a surprise? There's no need for it.
certainly we would receive the information in an email or anything prior with the opportunity to ask questions like we usually do on that. But in sometimes there are items that rather than doing them retroactively months later that do come up, we can attend to. It doesn't happen very often. I think in my 4 years, maybe it's happened, or almost 4 years. It's happened maybe once. So to your point, Mrs. McGrath, that's something everyone pays close attention to. So, but your point is noted. Thank you. as we complete this agenda review and next week's meeting, we would then go into our governing board reports. And we'll talk about some next meeting dates, times, and locations. There may be some adjustments to the calendar beginning in August as we move forward. You can note in the postings here, there's some ideas we would convene on August 16th. We may be convening instead on August 9th, but that will be noted soon. And we will, in fact, meet in person on August 23rd for a regular board meeting. Pretty exciting. We'll post where that session will be, and it'll just be great to see everyone in person, or however we can make that happen. So with that, do I have a motion?
President Sullivan?
Yes, Dr. Thor.
I would suggest that we clarify that if agenda review is on the 9th, that the board will still have an executive session on August the 16th in person.
Okay, thank you for that. And so with that duly noted, I'm going to then conclude our agenda review session. Again, I apologize for whatever technical glitch I had that put me in the ether somewhere. Thank you, Dr. Narini, for picking up the slack there. I appreciate that. Board members, I need to know, do I have a motion to adjourn to executive session for discussion or consultation for legal advice with the attorney or attorneys of the public body, according to ARS 38-431.03A3 regarding South Mountain Community College? Do I have a motion?
I move that we adjourn to executive session.
Thank you. All board members in favor, vote by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Being no opposed, we're going to again conclude the agenda review and move to the executive session. We do that via Google Meet, so we will exit out of this connection and move to the next one. And board members, I will meet you shortly. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for the evening. Thanks, Elsa.